Spain reports another death from monkeypox, bringing the total of fatalities from the virus so far in Europe to 2.
Russia and Ukraine blame each other for killing Ukrainian POWs as ships wait to carry grain from Odessa.
Iraqi protesters have once again stormed parliament in support of powerful cleric Muqtada al-Assad to stop the nomination of a new prime minister.
On the road and by train, it's the busiest day of the holidays.
There have now been 2 confirmed deaths from monkeypox in Spain, and so far they are thought to be the only fatalities from the virus in Europe. According to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there are more than 21,000 cases worldwide, with many being on the African continent, where the virus is now endemic. In Europe, Spain has reported more than 4,000 cases and is administering 5,300 vaccines received from the joint EU vaccine purchase scheme. But health workers say they are not enough to cover the at-risk groups. The illness can be relatively mild for many, but people can be contagious for weeks, and the lesions can be extremely painful. Haran Tulane had to be hospitalized. He describes how the virus took hold.
And the lesions started on my nose only. I didn't have any lesions until I got into the hospital and started to take some antibiotics and paracetamols. I think that was like a couple of days after that, the lesions appeared on my hands and on my feet and on my legs.
The WHO last week declared the monkeypox outbreak a global health emergency. Its Director General said doing so would help speed up the development of vaccines.
Both sides in the conflict are blaming each other for the attack on Olenivka prison camp, where 53 Ukrainian POWs died. Russia claims it was a Ukrainian HIMARS strike on Donetsk, but Ukraine strongly denies this and says Moscow-backed forces shelled the prison. I've received reports today about the attack of the occupiers on Olenivka Donetsk region. It was a deliberate Russian war crime, a deliberate mass murder of Ukrainian prisoners of war, more than 50 dead. When the defenders of Azovstal left the plant, the UN and the International Committee of the Red Cross acted as guarantors of the life and health of our soldiers. And the war goes on. In the heavily bombed southern Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv, Russian attacks killed 5 people and wounded 7 more. While smoke rose in the skies above the eastern Ukrainian city of Soledar, now seen as the latest target in Russia's offensive push in the Donbass. As the heavy fighting continues, ships wait to carry Ukrainian grain from the port of Odessa under the terms brokered between Ukraine and Russia in Turkey, in an attempt to guarantee global food security.
Iraqi protesters once again breaching parliament in a show of support for powerful Iraqi cleric Muqtada al-Assad. This just days after storming the legislative body to suspend a session to nominate a new prime minister. Al-Assad's bloc emerged from elections in October as the biggest parliamentary faction, but was still far short of a majority. 10 months on, deadlock persists and a new government has not been formed. Supporters of the populist Shiite cleric oppose the recently announced candidacy of Mohammed al-Sudani, a former prime minister and ex-provincial governor who is the pro-Iran coordination framework's pick for premier. The protests are the latest challenge for oil-rich Iraq, deep in a political and socio-economic crisis despite increased global crude prices.
Over 400 people have been able to disembark after being rescued in the Mediterranean Sea in 4 separate operations last week. A German humanitarian organisation's maritime rescue ship, Sea-Watch 3, arrived in the port of Taranto in southern Italy in the early hours of Saturday. Among those able to dock were 117 unaccompanied minors and 34 women, 4 of them pregnant. According to officials, the people are currently going through registration and medical care before reaching the first reception structures. Italy's Interior Ministry says from January to July, 34,000 people arrived in Italy by sea, almost 10,000 more than over the same period last year. This wave of migration is expected to be a key topic in Italy's snap election in September. Recent polls suggest that a bloc of conservative parties led by the far-right Brothers of Italy could win a majority, and the latter supports calls for zero tolerance to illegal migration and renegotiating EU treaties on the matter.
Germany's foreign minister has urged Turkey to respect human rights during a testy first visit. After a seemingly gracious meeting, the ministers argued over several issues in a tense and drawn-out news conference, trading barbs over disputes with Ankara and Athens, jailed Turkish philanthropist Osman Kavala and Kurdish militants.
When there are so many verdicts waiting to be implemented and you've just arrived from Greece without ever having recalled any of these verdicts there, why are you still raising the issue of Osman Kavala? Because you're using him against Turkey, you are financing him.
Germany has always defended Osman Kavala, jailed for life this year on what most Western governments believe are trumped-up charges. Baerbock says, "It's my duty as foreign minister to respect and defend the judgments of the European Court of Human Rights without exception and at all times." She warns that Turkey's threat to launch a new offensive against Kurdish military in northern Syria will only cause more people pain. It's her first visit to Turkey as foreign minister, but the Turks appear to miss the Merkel government, with Çavuşoğlu saying Germany's position used to be more balanced.
Bumper to bumper, the traffic on the péage outside Paris was almost all in one direction. By tradition, it's the busiest day of the year on French roads, when those who take their summer holidays in July meet the people who vacation in August. By mid-morning, there were 800 kilometres of traffic jams across the country. They were queuing all along the Rhône River in Valence, and the line of traffic on the north-south route at Gotthard in Switzerland stretched for 20 kilometres, a scene repeated elsewhere on Swiss motorways where families heading off on holiday found any way they could to cool their heels. For rail travellers, it was crowded platforms, here at the Gare de Lyon in Paris, as 400,000 French holidaymakers travelled by train, braving the heat and the wait to secure a place in the sun. While in Belgium, a high-speed train hit an animal on the tracks, an accident that left some passengers stranded on the train, while also having a knock-on effect on other parts of the rail network.
Wildfires are raging across Europe, but they're also threatening the huge forests in the Caucasus Mountains in Georgia. They're an important natural lung, absorbing carbon dioxide and breathing out oxygen. That's why preventing fires there is very important, and the country's Environment Ministry is concerned about increasing temperatures.
In Georgia, we usually have many forest fires over the summer, but fortunately we've not had a massive loss of forested areas until now. But that doesn't mean we can relax. What with climate change, it's expected that the number of forest fires in the country will increase. That's why it's important to take preventative measures.
Absorbing greenhouse gases is not the only role forests play in slowing the pace of climate change. They also regulate water flows and are home to many species of plants, animals and insects, to name but a few. So careful forest management is an important issue.
We see manifestations of climate change every year, and this year was no exception. We had a storm on the Black Sea in January, and there was an uneven distribution of rain in the spring. Unfortunately, this trend will continue, since it's too early to talk about reducing the concentration of gases that cause climate change.
In Georgia, forest and field fires are mostly caused by humans. So, particularly when temperatures are high, the authorities are urging people not to leave easily flammable waste in nature and not to light fires near trees.